This is Into the Singleverse with Raj Verma. Unfiltered conversations about the latest trends and the tangible effects of real-time data on pivotal industries, our daily lives, and the future of our world.
Joining us today is a remarkable individual whose passion for golf is nothing short of inspirational. As a partner and a distinguished champion, he has achieved amazing success in his career, winning 6 PGA Tour events, including 3 majors, the PGA and 2 Open championships back-to-back. He also represented Europe 6 times in the Ryder Cup and served as its captain, which is an honor and a privilege. Beyond his impressive achievements, Pádraig Harrington is a dear friend and a phenomenal human, making him a perfect guest for our podcast. We are going to discuss the fascinating ways in which data and analytics have transformed the world of professional golf and their impact on the game's future. And one achievement that I failed to mention, he recently has been inducted into the Golf Hall of Fame. So, Pádraig, congratulations and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Raj.
So tell us about, I've got a 6-year-old and he's interested in golf, and he's just absolutely mad about the sport of golf, and he spends every waking hour putting on the carpet, chipping on our lawn, much to my wife's dismay. How did you get into golf as a boy growing up in Ireland, and how have you stuck with it and why?
Before I get into how I got into it, if you have, like your 6-year-old sounds like he likes the game of golf. But when it comes to sport, if you're bringing your child, son or daughter to any sport, a lot of parents think that if they get good at the sport, they'll like the sport. But it's actually, it's better the other way around. I'm not saying it can happen that way. It's better that they like the sport and then they'll figure out how to be good at it. Now, the reason for that is when the sport gets tough, and it will always get tough at some stage, they will plateau, things won't go the way they want. If they truly love the sport, they'll stick at it. Whereas if they're only in it because they were good, they're likely to give up. So in golfing terms, I would recommend a few things, and people can figure this out for whatever they want their kid to play. I would bring your child to an environment that you're comfortable in. So if you're a golfer, don't bring them to the stuffy country club that you're worried about the rules, because your kids will see that you're stressed, and that will come. They'll feel it. They won't want to be there. So bring them somewhere where you're nice and relaxed. Let your kids, especially at 6 years, let them do what they want. So if they want to hit one shot and then not hit another shot, that's fine. If they want to play in the sand, let them play in the sand, but don't push the shots on them. They'll do it themselves when the time is right. So don't push it on them to do it. Let them relax into it and do what they like. And 2 more things on that. Bring them home before they're tired. So stop them. So if they're enjoying themselves and you're thinking, oh, they're having a great time kicking this ball, actually say, no, we got to go home. And they'll be going, oh, I don't want to go home. No, we got to go home. And that way, when they're going home, they want to come back. Where if you wait till they're tired, they will always remember, oh, I was tired. I wanted to go. It was cold. It was dark. It was wet, whatever it is. They'll remember that feeling. It's like going to the gym. You never leave the gym when you're tired. You always try and leave the gym when you feel good, because that way you'll go back the next day. And it's the same with a kid. Bring them away from the golf. Take them home when they're in the middle of it, so that they want to go back. And the last thing I would say, and this is something for me that I would look at back at my own childhood, when the golf is finished, especially, it's a great bonding session. I can only say my dad to my sons or something like that, or me to my sons, or my own dad to me. Take time at the end of it to stop to do something special with your kids. As in, for me, it was as simple as we'd go to the clubhouse bar and we'd sit and have a Coca-Cola. And that was 15 minutes with my dad. That was me and my dad, and that was it. And back in the day, you wouldn't have got a Coca-Cola. So it was quite a treat. And every time I ever have that drink again, I'm thinking, I'm remembering the past. I'm remembering that good feeling. So whatever it is, bring your kid for an ice cream on the way home. Bring them for a treat. And they'll associate those happy feelings every time they go playing golf for the rest of their life. So really concentrate on making it as enjoyable And kids are brilliant. They will figure out, if they love a sport, they will figure out how to play it. They don't need any help. They're far better at learning than we are ever going to tell them. Just once they're interested, like you said to your son, he's out chipping on the grass. He's annoying you. He's wanting to play so much, and that's the way you want it. You want them to love it. Whereas if you're always thinking about how good they are, and golf has serious mental health issues, and we can't believe we're getting this deep at the very start of the podcast, but golf has a very serious issue with mental health because kids get good at the game. It's an individual sport, and then they move up to a new level. And most of the time you move up to a new level, all of a sudden you're losing nearly all the time. And it's very stark. It's not like you have a team to protect you. It's not like if you lose in a team that it can be somebody else's fault or nobody really knows why you lost 1-0 in the soccer. In golf, it's printed. The results are printed. What score you shot, who shot what, how you did. So it's very tough on kids, especially kids who are good. It's very tough to pressure when they get older. So if you want them to love the game, and remember, your 6-year-old son is going to play the game. He's 6. He's probably going to play the game for more than I reckon. He could play the game for 100 years. So, and I'm serious. That
I surely hope so.
Yeah, you can play golf all the way up. I know people who are playing golf, and it keeps them mobile into their 90s. Golf extends your active life by 8 years. So people who play, like if you play bridge, it extends your mental capacities for more years, but golf actually extends your active life because not only you're walking, you're twisting, you're going up and down, and you're using your brain at the same time. So it really is something that older golfers are getting the benefit big time to extend their vitality that bit longer. So your son is, honestly, think about it, he's going to play 90, 100 years. So let's hope it's the love of the game rather than just being good. And they figure it out. They do figure it out. Now, in my own case, my father was a policeman. He came to the big city from the country. He was a good sportsman. He joined a golf club outside the city, but played golf. He retired from football and started playing golf. And then he realised that after a while that police weren't really welcome in golf clubs in the early 70s. You know, when they were hard to get in. It was too expensive. So he convinced himself and about a dozen other policemen got together, and they convinced the police social club to lease some land, and they built a golf course for the police. So they had their own golf course 15 minutes from my home, and that was the luck for me. It was right beside me, and it became my playground. I would look for golf balls, chase rabbits, and play golf. And I did play loads of other sports. So I captained my school football team, and I was involved in all the sports. But as I got older, eventually I started winning at the golf, and maybe I did like it, but winning and maybe my football teams, I was goalkeeper, I was letting in maybe too many goals and we were losing, so it became easier to go, I think I like to play golf on a Saturday and Sunday rather than lose my soccer games and things like that. So it became easy for me to go and do that. And look, all the way up, as I said, up until I was 18, I studied accountancy at night. When I left school, I did night school with the intention of being involved in the golf industry, but not being a golf pro. I was going to be golf course manager. So I didn't realize, it's amazing back in the 80s in Ireland, it was pretty depressed. I didn't know what was out there in the world. I just didn't know that you could become a golf course psychologist. I didn't know you could become a sports manager. These things just, you think everything is so available nowadays. Back then, you just didn't realize what was around in the world. So thankfully, I got better and better at golf, and I decided I would turn pro, not necessarily believing I was that good, but I was better than the amateurs who were around me. And I says, well, if they're turning pro and think they're good enough, I'm beating them. I'm going to have a go too. And this is where we ended up.
Oh, that's an incredible story. In fact, get a chance, my 6th year now, I have this ritual after we practice or what have you, right? We go and he has a chocolate milkshake with sprinkles. And I don't know whether
that is exactly it. You think he likes the golf, he likes the chocolate milkshake.
And just one other thing that brought some memories back to me as well. My dad was in the army as well, growing up in India. and we had access to golf courses, etc. And I still remember a small town in India called Kanpur, and as the sun was setting, the golf course was right next to the river Ganges, and my dad and I would be coming up the 18th. And those memories still today, every time I see the sun go down on a golf course and I'm playing golf, that's the first place my mind goes to. And it's incredible what these memories do to you, even when you're our age, you know.
I have my sports psychologist is a man called Bob Bertella, and I can remember him. His own father has since passed away, but he played golf with his father, Bob Bertella, his daughter, and his grandson. So 4 generations in the one group, and male and female. So it as a game, there's no better game for family participation where everybody can play. It's one of the few sports that your daughter can beat her father at. You know, it's a great sport for that. There's a great leveler in it. And memories for life. But again, I do say that there is an issue in golf that because some of the most successful people in golf have there's the idea that they were one-dimensional only in golf and they focused on golf, and a lot of kids are burning out because they're trying to do that. You know, they need to have that balance, because it's essentially like, even for a good tour pro, I played 30 events during the year. Okay, last year was a good year. I had 4 wins, but in 30 events on the regular tour, if I won once, that's a good year. So that's 29 failings. That's not a lot of successful sports people lose 29 matches in a year, and yet that would be success on my tour. So you really have to love it. And I do love the game. I'm obsessed about it. I'm into the game. I think about it. I get up every morning thinking I'm going to find the secret. It keeps me young. I'm 51 years of age, and it keeps me young. I want to beat the young guys. You know, what would I be doing if I didn't have golf? You know, I'd be getting old.
You know, you touched upon something which is very close to my heart. It's mental health, especially for young teenagers with all the social media and mobile phones and all the rest of it. And I think you and I have discussed this a little bit on the course. The one thing that I was reading was that, you know, one of arguably the greatest golfers in the world, Tiger Woods, it was not his swing or his golf game, but his mental strength that won him the kind of championships that he won. And he could even win a championship or a tour event having his B or even his C game.
Yeah, Tiger was really good. He was not alone physically a great golfer, great golf swing. He had a lot of speed and power. He had a lot of touch around the greens. He seemed to be the best putter in the game for a long period of time. But why he was so good was all of those things. But he had a real drive. He had a real hardness in him on the golf course to get the job done. You know, he could play badly and still get the job done. He wasn't concerned about how it looked on a given day. He was concerned about getting the lowest score he had in the hole. He was very easy to play with, Tiger, over the years. I played a lot with him. You're inside the bubble, which is good, because like if half the crowd run off, the crowd is so big that you don't notice. There's, you know, if they're 10 deep around the green and half them leave, they're still 5 deep. So it's easy to play inside with Tiger. He's very respectful to play with. For a big star, he never took advantage of that. He only wanted to play golf. He wanted you to play. He always gave the impression he wanted you to play well and him just to beat you by playing better. He actually gave the impression that he wanted to put up to him. He wanted a challenge. He only said good shot to you when you hit a good shot. You know, one of the things I do when I'm playing it, like out with my friends, okay, Raj, remember this, Raj. We have a rule that if you say good shot to somebody, that person has the right to hit the shot again if they didn't like it. So it stops that cursory, you know, oh, good shot. And you go, that's an average shot. It's not a good shot, which pros don't like that. We don't want people to talk about our shots or what we're doing unless they actually stand out. And Tiger was very, very good for that in the golf course. If he said good shot to you, you took a moment to say, I hit a good shot. That sort of proves it. So Yeah, easy to play with, tough competitor, really tough. Like, you know, I kind of figured this out later in my own life. Guys who play golf, guys, girls, when they hit a bad shot, sometimes they think they should make a bogey at the hole. I never had that thought in my head. Whatever happened, I was trying to hit the next shot as good as I could. And I never thought I deserved a bogey for playing badly. I never thought, I thought, get the ball in the hole in 4 shots. And Tiger is pretty much the same. There's nothing, golf is, there is a lot of luck involved in it and circumstances because we're outdoors. But it doesn't mean that, you know, if something goes wrong in the hole, you play it badly, it doesn't mean you have to take it. You just try and make the best of it. And there's nobody better than Tiger, but I was pretty good at doing it myself. And I think even if I looked at myself as a young pro, now with my experience and I look back, I go, ooh, I don't know if this guy's ever going to make it. But when I was young, I didn't second guess myself. I just did it. I kept doing it. I didn't really question it. And I just, in some ways, you know, I played with blinkers and didn't really ask too many questions, just get it done.
No, that's incredible. In fact, one of the things that was remarkable about you was the press got on your back a little bit early on in your career, saying that you couldn't close out a tournament. What was it, 29 second places and many third and fourth places. And then you just got out and got after it, and back-to-back Open Championships and 3 majors and in a Hall of Fame career. What was that transition? Was there a switch that turned on, or?
No, I wouldn't know if there was a switch that turned on. Yeah, there kind of was. Okay, a couple of things happening. When I was finishing second, and whether this is right or wrong, I was very much in the phase of my golfing career of trying to get better. I felt I needed to get better. So I lost some tournaments. There's some of those 29 second places. Some of them I played well to finish second. Some of them I messed up. So they weren't all the same. And the press would like you to put 29 second places like you choked 29 times. But that's not true. Sometimes other people got lucky. Sometimes other people did great things. Sometimes I got unlucky. Sometimes I messed it up. So they're all different. But every one of them was a learning experience. And I was in the part of my career, I'm not saying this is 100% right, but I felt like I was trying to improve to get to a different level. So I was prepared to make sacrifices. And there's no doubt I over-practiced at times. I tired myself out in tournaments. I wasn't ready for Sunday. I was burned out at times. But all of that was to lead me to winning the bigger tournaments. Now, what's interesting, when I did start winning the bigger tournaments, it actually started with a second place. I lost the US Open in 2006. I bogeyed the last 3 holes. 3 pars would have won it. I had a putt in the last for birdie that would have got me in the playoff. I had 3 putt at the last 2 greens. A bit of a disastrous finish. But what was interesting about it was one of the first times I turned up at a major where I felt if I played my game, it was good enough. I became comfortable in my environment that, you know what, I don't need other people's luck here. I don't need other people to not play their best. If I play my game, I'm going to have a chance of winning down the stretch. And I know if I have a chance of winning enough times, it's going to fall my way sometimes, maybe not other times. And all of a sudden, I relaxed going into these tournaments. And for 2 years, more than 2 years, I won 3 majors out of the next, must be now the next 6. I was comfortable in my own skin. You perform your best when you're in an environment, and that doesn't mean I'm you know, sometimes I say I'm comfortable and people think, oh, you weren't pushing yourself. No, it just means that I wasn't looking over my shoulder at other people. I was trusting that, hey, if I look after myself, my game, it's going to put me in a position where I'm very close to winning. It doesn't guarantee a win, but in golf, we play enough events that the numbers are going to work in my favor. And they did work in my favor very quickly, as I said, and I was very relaxed. And then other people would say, well, okay, well, why didn't you keep doing that? Well, after a while, you know, well, I did for a while. I had great chances in 2009. I played very well in 2010. And then all of a sudden, you haven't won for a while and there's new kids on the block. And you go back to going to that thing, you know, to win this week, I need to hold a big putt, or I need to have a few good breaks. And I'd be very careful if he plays well. Oh, I can't beat him with his A game. And all of a sudden, and it does go back to your Tiger comment. If you think you need your A game to win, the likelihood is your B game will turn up. If you think your B game could win, the likelihood is your A game will turn up. So that's a nice way of putting it. Just that little, and we see it constantly in golf where people come into form and they generally play well for 2 seasons, about 18 months, and a lot of the time it is they just are comfortable in their own skin. And that happened to be, I've gone to the Champions Tour now. I won 4 times at the end of last year, and basically I'm a big fish in a small pond, and I started putting better. So putting has been my Achilles heel for the last 10 years, because every time I'm hitting a putt, it's so important. I don't feel like I can take any misses. Whereas on the Champions Tour, I know I'm going to be thereabouts at the end of the week. So I feel like, this putt isn't the end of the world. And because I don't feel like it's the end of the world, all of a sudden I hold it. So definitely it is. I got to where I am by doing more work than everybody else. But once you get there, you have to trust you've done the work and let it happen.
So many lessons for us in the line of business, and incredible. I still remember, I think it was Winged Foot, 2006.
2006.
Yeah, you walk off the 18th and you go to your, I think, was it your coach or your manager?
Your sports psychologist, yeah.
And you said, I'm really happy because I feel now I can win it on my own. I don't need anyone else to screw it up for me to win it. What an incredible mental strength thing to say to your subconscious.
The one thing I have been blessed with in life is I'm an optimist. I am a very enthusiastic, optimistic person. So if I have a bad day, I can feel bad about it that day. But the minute I get back going the next day, I'm looking forward. So I recommend that to anybody. If something's gone wrong, not work, if you start thinking and brooding and for business people out there, just don't spend any time in your hotel room, because you're going to overthink things in the room. The minute you get out and you get back doing stuff, all of a sudden the world opens up again and you start looking forward rather than backwards.
That's incredible. Pádraig, every time I've met you, it's been an incredible experience, because you're testing some new sort of a growth edge to your game. I think the last time I saw you, you were wearing a sort of a bell around your neck just to help you swing.
It was a ball. So I was trying to get my elbows to work together. So sometimes in golf, your elbows can part. So I was trying to keep them tight together. So yeah, I use training aids because I don't want to think too much about what I'm doing. So the training aid, so instead of trying to swing with my elbows together, the ball was there, which made me hold my elbows in. And very interesting about training aids. This is a terrible aside, I know, but
not at all.
You got to be very careful with training aids. I always remember watching the movie with Clint Eastwood and Hilary Swank, $1 Million Baby, the boxing movie. And he wanted to teach her to hold her arms up. So he tied a weight under her arms. Now, that's going to be the wrong muscles. Sorry, he tied the weight above. He tied the weight to keep them up, which would actually activate the wrong muscles. You want to do the opposite muscles to keep the arms up. So something pulling her down would actually would engage her muscles to keep it up. So it's the same with golf. If I'm trying to keep my elbows together and I put a band on the outside to pull me in, I'm actually going to practice pushing against the band. Whereas if I put something on the inside, I'm going to practice squeezing. So it's quite, that's a little aside. I shouldn't have really, that's very golfing.
No, not at all. This is incredible.
But that's what I'm doing when I'm sitting watching a movie and I see a training sequence. I say, no, that's the wrong way around. You got to be using the other muscles to engage, not those.
Of the many tips that you've given me that has stuck with me, my warm-up routine, I think you say this, you don't have to reinvent your swing at the driving range before playing around a golf. Just go and hit the bloody ball, and line up the 7 balls and just hit them and get the body in that motion of hitting. It's simple. It, doesn't quite work all the time. It works for me,
I'm doing a talk coming up now, a psychology talk in a university in Ireland, and one of the topic that I'm going to bring to it is everything works some of the time, nothing works all the time. And there I've given you a good tip there, and you can go, well, it's not working. No matter how good something is, some days it won't work, and that's not the day to give it up. Stick with the good things, and instead of, what happens with a lot of people is they do something wrong and they get away with it. It works, and for the rest of their life they go, oh, I can get away with that. So it could be getting angry, could be losing their temper, and because it didn't have a penalty, because it didn't have a downside to it, there's no temptation not going forward not to do it. So everything in life, do the right stuff. It will work most of the time, not all the time, and that's the only, there's no fail safe in life, in anything. You cannot guarantee something works all the time, because that would be unrealistic. It wouldn't be life.
That's very, very well said. Well, hang on, Paddy. We have more to get to, but we have to stop here. Coming up in the second part of my conversation with Hall of Fame golfer Pádraig Harrington, Pádraig talks about the impact of technology in the game of golf.
Data has helped an awful lot, but we're still very raw. There's still a lot of noise in it, and we're going to tidy it. I'd say there will be advances coming.
This was Into the Singleverse with Raj Verma. If you want to learn how to unleash the immense power of data, go to singlestore.com. Into the Singleverse is a production of Forbes Books.